we have a little bit of a deck to show you because some of the stuff that we're doing is kind of fun to see, and we like to share that with you. And then we're going to have some time for some questions as well. So my very talented alumni director, Amanda Griffin, is going to be running, I hope, the Q&A through the Q&A little tab that you see down there, which is a little different than the chat box function that those of you who have been Zooming all over are more familiar with. So we'll direct questions to that. And I know that we only have an hour, so I will keep my introduction brief and then introduce the folks that I have with me once I believe my deck can go up. Is that possible, Brian? Excellent. All right, so here we go. We can hit that next slide, Brian. I'll let you run that for me. Perfect. So again, I'm Amy Falkner. I'm the interim dean, and I have with me, if you can see them, and they will all be speaking at some point, Donna Hayes. Donna, if you want to wave, that's Donna. She's our interim associate dean for academic affairs. Joel Kaplan, growing a long beard, our associate dean of professional graduate studies. Sorry, I'm your title there, Joel. And Kelly Barnett, who is director of our Career Development Center. So all of them have done some fantastic work, and we really appreciate it. And obviously, many of you already work with Amanda and Carol Satchwell, who are also on the line, and will be assisting us with our Q&A session. So next slide, Brian. Yes, there's a school. It looks exactly like that. Hold on. And there's our students. There we go, back to the school. Okay, so this is obviously our building complex, and at this point, we really don't have much going on, obviously, in the school. You've heard me mention the name Brian. That's our IT director, also doing a fantastic job, and he is essentially our essential personnel in the building. I'm in and out, and that is about it. But that doesn't mean that things aren't happening and happening quickly. So if you can hit that next slide, Brian. There's some of our freshmen. And so they look very happy and excited. This is probably, I think, the first week that we moved online in March. And near that top left where you see the yellow box is our professor, Seth Gittner. He's actually our coordinator for all of these sections. It's called COM 117. It's multimedia storytelling. And we have about 10 sections of these each semester. So Seth is the guy. He actually literally wrote the book that people use in these classes. And so it didn't take much arm twisting to get his students to dress up in their favorite SU orange and take the class picture. So this is kind of what we're living right now. And in a few moments, Donna Hayes is going to walk you through how we were able to do that. Next. And here she goes. I'm turning it over to Donna.
I'm so glad to be here with you. Wondering if some of you were my students along the way. At any rate, so here's what we were facing. Over the course of 19 days, we had to transition 73 staff members to work from home, other than Brian, as Amy just mentioned, 159 professors who had to teach more than 2,000 students, and that was in 430 labs and classes each week. Those are pretty big numbers. I want to break down that 159 teacher or professor number very quickly. Here's something important. Only about 20 of them had taught online before through our 2U master's program. Only about 20. So we had about 140 professors to train. The professors also were from multiple locations, Syracuse, New York City, but also from LA. So we had that time difference to account for. You see there's 66 part-time professors. The adjuncts had special challenges. Most of them had not taught online before, and some of them were not as experienced also in teaching. Many of them were professionals. So we had to set up and did set up a special faculty mentoring committee, so to speak, just to help them out with their technical and teaching needs. Next one, if you would, Brian. Okay, so what did we do? What was the faculty training? And before I get into the details, so many kudos go out to Brian Tibbins and his IT team. If they had not stepped up and done such a great job with this, honestly, I don't know where we would have been. So thank you, Brian, and your whole team. So between March 10th, which was the Tuesday before spring break, and March 23rd, which was launch day, Brian held 7 in-person sessions. And those obviously started before we were told that we had to exit campus. We had planned a number of other sessions during spring break, but once we exited campus, they had to go virtual. So 15 virtual sessions after that. In addition to that, before we left for spring break, it wasn't just about technology. It also was about how do you teach online? How do you do the best job teaching online? So we got 3 of our most experienced online professors while we were still on campus to give a session on best practices to more than 40 of our faculty. We started out, by the way, on Blackboard Collaborate, which was the platform that the university chose. And then eventually we were able to transition to Zoom, and Brian and his team had to get additional Zoom training going. So how did this all shake out? Well, I honestly think that Monday, March 23rd, the first day of online classes, was one of the most stressful that I've had in my recent life. But here's the bottom line. Besides having phone support, we also set up a shared spreadsheet that everyone could report their both tech and teaching problems to. And that first day, March 23rd, by the end of it, I don't have the exact count. I should have gotten that for you, but it was roughly a dozen or so, maybe less than a dozen issues, both tech and teaching. I couldn't believe it. So again, that just bespeaks to the fantastic effort that everyone made. Everyone stepped up, IT team, staff, professors, everyone stepped up to make it work. And students, look at the students. You saw the pictures Amy just showed. They're decked out in their orange. They really, really helped out to make this all work. And over the course of that first week, that very first week we're on, I do have the exact statistics. We logged 19 specific tech issues and 5 teaching related issues. 19 and 5, 24 issues. That's out of 430 classes and labs that were taught. So that was, that felt like a pretty good week. So Amy, you've got some more positive stuff, some more positive feedback you got about our online teaching.
I do, and I will add that the teaching issues, I will just share, as you can imagine, one of them was from a part-time instructor, just a lighter note, and said, what do I do with the student who's doing class in his bed? Like, what am I supposed to say? And I said, tell him to get up, like, go, right? So we have all kinds of issues in this new environment, and we have definitely been able to work through some of them. So I want to show you some examples of some of the great stuff that our professors have been doing. And Brian, if you can go to the next slide. So you'll see that throughout, there's probably, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 slides here. And we're happy to send this deck out to you afterwards if you just email Amanda and let her know that you'd like to see it, because I won't be going through all these links, but they are just really incredible to go see what some of the faculty have been able to conjure up. And I mean, initially, those of you who are alums in our broadcast and digital journalism department or anywhere that uses heavy equipment, right? So television, radio, film, our photography, our graphic design people, you know, that was the immediate challenge, right? Like, what do we do? What do we do without our cameras and our studios? And so Professor Les Rose said, okay, well, yeah, I'm in the very senior level digital news reporting class, so we're going to use our cell phones and still create great stories. And so they have been doing this pretty universally, and we've also figured out ways to teach, as an example, production remotely from our studio. And so our 2 studio managers have done that as well. So next slide, Brian. In our, I'm not sure all the acronyms are familiar to everyone. So M&D is Magazine, News, and Digital Journalism. And we were able to actually pivot very quickly, and great credit to Jim Shaheen for taking his critical writing class, which would normally be about covering the arts, and instead turning it kind of on its head and coming up with a series that said, okay, how are we going to cover how the arts are being affected by the pandemic? And so they started this very early in early April, started posting things. It gets revised every day. And if you go to this link on our website, the Newhouse, which you should all check out because that's where a lot of our work is right now, and you can see what's actually happening. This particular series, it's only been out for a month. It's already won an award. I mean, it's just really great work. And so I encourage you to go and take a look at that as well. So if you could go to the next slide, Brian. So again, our intrepid photography department trying to figure out, okay, what do we do, right? How do we show students how to use light? And so we are very wildly fortunate to have Greg Heisler on our faculty, and he has done 70-time magazine covers and all kinds of Sports Illustrated covers, and he's pretty much in his living room here, right, with a 3-camera setup. And he was able, with Rafael Concepcion's assistance, to figure out how to show students in real time how to light properly, and also to explain to them, you know, okay, you don't have exactly the same gear, so here's what I would use. And so obviously the students are producing all this work and sending it in. Our last day of class was Tuesday, and actually we are in finals week right now, so they're producing some of their final projects. Next, Brian. So these are our freshmen. And so you can see, okay, I got to try to figure out how to do my multimedia storytelling class while I'm in my kitchen or whatever it is I'm actually doing. And if you take a look, and this is Raphael's class. Next slide, Brian. He has done some incredible work. He asked them all to do like a 21 question piece and turn it into a self-reflection project, which they've done the drafts of and which are on YouTube here. And they're going to be cut down for their final projects. It's really, if you want to get a feel for like, what are the students feeling right now, take a look at this work. And the videos are a little longer right now because they haven't had their final edit yet, but that part of the process is explaining how they did that in Premiere and what they're actually going to be doing. And so they all had to answer the same 21 questions and then save the B-roll for some of this self-reflection work that they've been doing. And it's really good stuff. It's very compelling. Next, Brian. So in addition to class stuff, and that's just a small, a very small portion of the kinds of things people are doing, both our lecture series where we have them for both the Bandier program, the Newhouse Sports Media Center, have been going gangbusters. I mean, they're having like 500 people show up in these lectures now. And so you can see that our director, Bill Wordy, is down there at the bottom, and the incredible folks that he's been able to bring in and do for the Resic lecture series. And so this is normally a class that has 120-ish students in it, but because of the types of people that Bill's connected to and he's been able to bring in, they've opened it up. And so they've done some really, really fascinating things. And he did tell me the other day, I hope I get this right, Scooter Braun, Music People, apparently is the manager for Justin Bieber and Ariana Grande, and he Zoom bombed one of our classes and just came in, and it was fantastic. The students were all like jumping up and down. So this is the kind of stuff we're trying to do to bring that excitement level to class. And next slide, Brian. Wait, there's some people I know right on the screen. So much thanks to Mike Tirico, who I'm going to bring in a little bit to help us out with the conversation we want to have about how you can help, but you can see how you can help, right? You can help us by coming into classes. And so Olivia Stomsky, who does a terrific job as our Newhouse Sports Media Director, has put a series together, and Mike helped us kick it off. And you can see the show that we had last night, which actually got us Kirk Herbstreit, who isn't even an alum, but heard about it and was like, hey, I went in on this too. And so we were able to have a great lecture last night. And again, this is open not just to a particular class. Everybody can come to this, and we're getting hundreds of people who are hearing about Newhouse and what's going on. I love sports, so I'm very happy about this particular series. Brian? Couple other things. I mean, our student organizations are still doing what student organizations do, right? And so if you're on Orange TV, they figured out how to do their series remotely. And so you can, if you can get the deck, you can watch some of the good work that they're doing. And the next slide, Brian. And the same thing with our Mornings on the Hill broadcasts. And so you can see, obviously, a lot of the work is focused around what's going on with the coronavirus and how is that affecting things. But I give the students a ton of credit. I mean, they are working really, really hard, and it's not easy. I mean, I have a college sophomore. She's not at SU, she's at Lemoyne, and we're in this house all doing the same thing. And so it is, you have to be motivated, ambitious, and ready to do this. And, you know, it's hard to get everybody on board to do that. And I would say great credit to our faculty and staff for helping motivate our students, but our students are often self-motivated as well. And I think they've done a really terrific job. So next slide, Brian. So in terms of our staff support, I mean, everything immediately went online, right? So that meant all academic advising, and we had registration second week in April, and I'm pretty sure the advising office set a record for the number of appointments that they had versus what they may have done residentially. And they were pretty much obviously all on Zoom and every other virtual way that you can think of. But this time of year in particular, when we're trying to do degree checks and things, is tricky. And so great credit to our academic advising folks for transitioning so quickly. Next slide, Brian. So I'm going to turn this over to Kelly Barnett, because Kelly and her crew, as you can read through this, have been incredibly, incredibly busy. And I think, you know, trying to do career advising remotely is a bit of a challenge, but one of the first people who started to email me telling me about, here's all the cool stuff we're doing, was Kelly. And so her and her team, I'm going to transition this over to her and let her talk about the things that are going on and some things that might be coming up that you might be able to help us with. So Kelly?
Thanks. Hi, it's so nice to be here with all of you. Our advising needs did not go away when students left campus. So yeah, we had to transition everything to a more virtual delivery. So we did create a one-stop shop for students online to check out all those services and just make it as convenient as possible. We've really leaned into the technology we have available. So Zoom has been invaluable. We're meeting one-on-one with students as we usually would, just over Zoom instead of face-to-face. So that has been great. We have also used video for delivery of tip videos and letting students know, here are the things that you can control and that you should be working on. And we also had to transition our spring career fair to a virtual event, which was something we had never done before, but it was fun to be creative. You know, we worked with the organizations that were able to participate and did everything online. We collected application materials, and then we had one big interview day that resulted in hundreds of interviews for our students, which was great. One of the big things that we've been working on is a Friday speaker series where we've brought in some younger alumni, really from all corners of the industry. When it comes down to it, a worldwide pandemic is a new thing, but challenges are not. So we've had alumni go through different challenges in their careers, and that's really what the series is about. You know, what happened to you during your career where you felt like you weren't going to get through this? There wasn't going to be another side. And then how did you do it? So we've had a lot of great conversations there. We recorded them in Zoom, but we found that students really like to consume that information by podcasts. So they are being translated into podcasts now. They will be on our website soon. We're just working on the transcription. So we have 3 ready to go, and they will be ready for listening off of that same shortcut bit.ly link there once they're ready. So it's been exciting to have to get creative, but it's nice that we still get to have that interaction with students.
That's great, Kelly. Thank you. So Brian, hit that next slide for me. All right. So this also has been an interesting time for admissions, right? And so tomorrow is our deadline for undergraduate admitted students, and then May 15th is our deadline for our graduate students. And so we have a lot of people who usually undergrad students tend to come to campus more than once, right? But the spring is when they make their little final visit, and they have been unable to do that. So twice this week, I've had meetings with parents who are parents of admitted students. And thankfully, Karen McGee and Wes Whiteside have done a fantastic job meeting with admitted students and prospective students. It's all been on Zoom, and they're just nonstop, making sure that we have conversations with the students who are still trying to figure out what it is that they want to do, and also what's going on with what we'll do in the fall, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. I do want to point out we just finished a virtual tour, and so it's about 10 minutes long, and we were able to do that post, pretty much after people had left, and very fortunately Matt Park, who's the voice of the Orange and one of our alums, voiced it over for us. And so if you want to see all the buildings, you haven't seen them in a while, take a look through the tour, and you can see what the buildings look like when they're all spiffy and clean, which they are right now. So I'm going to ask Joel Kaplan to jump in here, because a particular challenge for us has been the graduate programs, because in addition to getting through the spring semester, we have summer classes for our graduate students, and those are also moved residentially at this point. So both our summer session 1 and 2 are residential. So I'd like Joel to talk a little bit about some of the work that's going to go on in our summer capstones, and in addition, and just in general, what you see going on with the graduate students. So Joel?
So thank you so much, Amy. I appreciate that. And first of all, I want to say kudos to Amy, Donna, Kelly, Brian, because this wasn't an easy thing to do. Luckily, almost every one of our faculty members are communication professionals, so we're used to working under deadline pressure, and we're used to being able to do things pretty quickly. And I think we were able to do that. So we have a dozen professional master's programs. And we have one online program, which was also useful in this, because even though Don said most of our faculty hasn't taught on the online program, many of the faculty have taught on there. And for them, it was seamless, and was also helpful to other faculty members to see how it was doing. But it's very frustrating for our grad students, right? Because at least our undergraduates are here for 4 years. And so one half of one semester, it's a big deal, but it's not a huge deal. But for our grad students, it's at least a quarter to a third of their program. And but again, the nice thing, at least here, is that we all started the first semester. So even though BDJ, which has doesn't have a news class, but has a reporting class, at least they were able to go out and report for the beginning of the year. I had a political reporting class. We actually got to go to New Hampshire, yay! And since then, we've been doing things remotely, and they've been able to talk to people and the like. But what are we going to do about the capstone classes? Because those are our culminating experiences, right? And some of our programs, for example, in PR, their culminating experience is an internship. And as you all know, internships are not as easy to get as they used to be. However, there are virtual internships now, particularly in places like public relations. Advertising has a campaign that they always do. They have clients in New York. They're still going to have that. They're just going to meet virtually. And as you can see here up on the slide, the MND magazine that they always put together is going to deal with this very thing. And so we actually have people from the program who are in Argentina now, and who are in China, and who are all over the country, and they're still able to do that. So going to the capstone is not ideal, but we're able to do it. On the other hand, what about next year? And we have a lot, right now we have 100 students who've committed. Normally we get about 200, but a lot of them come in at the very end. And so we push back our deadline till May 15th. I'm still hopeful that we're not going to get to 200, but we're going to get close. We've already set to go ahead and do the boot camp online. Now, originally I said, hey, why don't we use some of our online courses that we already have done with both async and sync to do this. But actually, the program directors and the faculty said, no, we just want to do for the most part, we want to do the classes we already have, and we're just going to retool those classes and make our boot camp as good an experience as we can. Now, again, though, our programs are 1 year wraparounds for the most part, start in July, actually June 29th this year, and end the end of June of 2021. And our students want that residential experience. So they're kind of looking to us saying, will we have residential classes? Will we have online classes? And we don't know the answer to that. And the administration doesn't know the answer to that, because a lot's going to depend on the governor and the county exec and other entities that make these decisions. But we're going to be flexible. And I've already told students, if that residential experience is really important, you go do the boot camp, and then we'll defer for a year. And you'll come back in the fall of the following year. Or it might be a situation, we don't know, where the semester starts out online and then goes residential. So we're going to be nimble enough, and we're going to be we're going to be practiced enough, and we're going to be on top of this enough, I'm convinced, to make sure that this all works out very well. And a lot of you also know that unlike undergraduate, we have a strong percentage of international students who like to do our grad programs, particularly international students from Asia. And they also have that issue because the question is, they can't get a visa until we actually start residential classes. And some of them can't get visas anyways because the deal is they have to go to the US consul and they're not given necessarily visas. So we're going to work with them as well, even though they're 12 hours ahead or 12 hours behind, to make it, our goal is always to make this as much of a robust Newhouse type experience as we can. And I think we've learned a lot from going online this semester. And I think we're going to take that and we're going to really do a good job no matter what the vehicle is to teach our students.
All right, thank you, Joel. So again, those are the deadlines that Joel and I were just talking about. And so right now, I would say at the undergraduate level, I mean, things are a little slower this year than they would normally be, right? And I fully expect that tomorrow, because that's the actual deadline for undergrads, that there'll be a lot of that activity. And obviously what students are concerned about, and their parents, who we had a long chat with, is what's going to happen in the fall. And so as Joel alluded, we're obviously have to pay attention to what the public health guidelines are and what's going on in New York State. And so that's been kind of like 2 weeks, and then they make another announcement, 2 weeks and make another announcement. Oh, I will say Governor Cuomo's been very entertaining, and I enjoy watching his briefings. So we're paying attention to that, but we're also getting ready for all kinds of scenarios, because we wouldn't be very responsible if we weren't already trying to plan, okay, what's going to happen if we're back fully, if we're back in some hybrid mode, if we're starting online, what's it going to be like? And so if you have heard the words from the Chancellor recently, he spoke to the Senate last week, and there was another story in the Daily Orange earlier this week. I mean, he is really trying to get us to get our heads around the fact that, okay, we're going to be on campus in some form. So now we have to think of what that form is. It's probably going to be different than what the form was when we left in February and March, right? Which is good, because there was snow on the ground and we don't miss that. But I think that could mean a lot of different things. That could mean lower density classes. It could mean that sometimes a Tuesday, Thursday class, half the class shows up on Tuesday and does some social distancing, the other half is online and watching, and then vice versa on Thursday. So these are the scenarios that Donna and I are working on and playing out with the department chairs, multiple versions. Right. And so we do have some time, fortunately, obviously a little more time than the 10 days that we had in March. So we're happy about that. But we also have some things that, some new toys and technologies that are going to come to us too, that the university is working on. I mean, it's been great having Zoom, which is super helpful. But there are other things we can do as well. And we're fortunate, like Joel said, that we have already developed an online master's program, and he and I both teach in that. And so some of us are pretty well versed in it. We have some great materials that's already been filmed asynchronously that we can use. So we're going to be exploring all options. Brian, can you hit that next slide for me? All right, what can you do to help? Many things. And I have some great help already. I'm so appreciative of all of you who do so much for our students. And a lot of times that it's time, right? It's your mentorship, it's your guidance that really helps our students. And especially right now, as you could hear from Kelly, as students are very nervous. And it's not just graduating seniors. We've got grad students graduating in a few months. We have prospective students and admitted students who aren't quite sure what they want to do. So anything that you can do to wave the orange flag is super helpful. And there's a guy I'm going to ask to come forward, Mike Tarico, who does an awful lot for us, and see if he has some suggestions. Hey, Mike.
Hi, Amy. Hi, everyone. It is great to hear and see so many fellow alums and Newhouse staff. And we are, before I go any further, we are so blessed to have Amy's leadership, not just in this stretch, but in the prior year and a half and 2 years where things have not been as planned with Newhouse and the Newhouse School. So thank you, Amy, for all that you've done for our school and for the students and the faculty and your staff as well. It is so appreciated by all of us. You saw Les Rose's class earlier reference the ability of the students to use technology at home to try and create classroom projects and stay on pace. And I was able to zoom into that class, one of, I think, 3 classes, and then a couple of other groups, the Newhouse Sports Group and WAER students doing their weekly meeting by Zoom. I was able to join them for just, I guess, a 30-something year throwback to a WAER staff meeting, which I haven't done in a while. And I have to tell you, it's as inspired as I've been in a long time.
I think Mike froze. Not me, right? There he is. You froze for a minute, Mike.
I'm sorry. Well, that's funny because I have not frozen on TV. I've been doing a TV show from here every day, noon to 1. Of
course, right?
And fingers crossed, knock on wood, I have not frozen during the show, but only have I frozen on a couple of Zoom calls. The point I was making was the students have been inspiring and helped inspire me to recreate and to reinvent in a lot of different ways. And I think if there's a message I can share with other fellow alums, and as somebody who's honored to be a part of the Newhouse Advisory Board and a trustee at Syracuse, this is the time, while we have some more time on our hands, that we can lend a hand to our Syracuse family, whether it is with advice, whether it's looking at a resume, a portfolio, some guidance or personal experience that we can share, as was mentioned before, in difficult times, which we've all come across, how to navigate that. We can stay engaged as alums, and it adds value to our degree because this group is going to go out and represent Syracuse and Newhouse in an incredible way. But it also adds value to our changed world. A lot of the students who are doing some of the things that they're having to figure out on the fly, they are completely replicating what we're doing in business right now. I mean, no joke, I am doing a 1-hour TV show every day of the week from that corner of my office right there. And I have a light. I'll keep the circle going here. I have a big light that I've bought, and I figured out how to light and how to frame and how to do all that stuff. And I had to go back to school and figure it out, right? But the kids are going to come out with that knowledge when they enter the business. So we have a lot of young women and men with a Syracuse degree who are going to be ready for whatever the new media looks. So as alums, stay involved, stay engaged. I sent one email to school and say, how can we help? Are there any classes we can Zoom into? And I got a great 4 or 5 response email back with a little grid of, here are the times you can join us, here are the classes, and they were fun. So while you have this time on your hands, support, add your guidance, be honest with the professors, department chairs who you know, professors you used to have, because we can give them the real-time intel on what's happening within our industries and our business, and they can pass it along to our students, and that is going to help them adjust on the fly and prepare, hopefully when we come out of this, for what the new economy is going to look like. But just in general, I can say there is nothing more rewarding than the thank yous that you get from students or faculty or alums that we are going back and helping our alma mater. So if you have a chance to do that, obviously we're reaching finals now, but as these summer sessions get going, because classes will still be going on in a different form, and certainly as we get to the fall, that re-engagement you may make now could set you up in the next 6 months, a year, 18 months to really find a great philanthropic part of your life that connects back to Syracuse and Syracuse students. So I hope you all stay safe, stay healthy. I hope we have a season in football or basketball or some sort at some point here down the line. We're all desperately hopeful for that. But in the interim, thank you all, especially Amy, for your leadership and all you're doing. These are still exciting times at Newhouse. And as alumni and as the, quote, Newhouse Mafia, don't say it too loud, but that's what we are. This is a time that families coming closer together. So the Newhouse Mafia is going to come closer together and help out our new members as we bring them under our wing. So thanks for a few minutes. And Amy, I'll throw it back to you.
All right, Mike, thank you so much. Really appreciate that. And I appreciate you guys. This is really the slide, right? That is the last one until we take some questions. I have one more before we wrap up, but we definitely appreciate all that you can do for our students, and they really appreciate it. And it's true, I will say, the Newhouse Mafia is well known. I can't say it very loudly, but Mike is right. And we talk about it all the time, and we brag about you all the time. And that is a large part of the reason a lot of times that we get admitted students to say yes to Newhouse versus some other schools. So if there's anything you can do right now to help us, as Mike made those suggestions, that would be awesome. we would definitely appreciate it. And Joel, especially because he has classes to run all summer that could use some more guest speakers, right, Joel? All right, so I'm going to ask Amanda to tell us what is in the Q&A in terms of questions, and then if you all would like to direct some questions to the Q&A box there, we will do our best to answer them. So, Amanda?
Yes, hi everybody. The first question comes from James, who asks, how many PhD degrees do you grant each year, and where do the graduates go?
So we have about 5 PhD students in a particular cohort, and they have 3 years to finish their degree. So we have about 15 students right now, give or take 1 or 2 students. And I would say that they go all over the place, actually. I mean, when they graduate and get their degree. So Joel, can you remember where Gina Gale just got her position? I lost the name of the school, but you can.
Put me on the spot. Yeah, she just got, but they generally get jobs teaching. I think Gina's down in Alabama. I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But so a lot of them teaching communication, but a lot of them actually go into industry. They work at Nielsen, or they go other places that value their research.
Right, so it's a small group.
What?
Yeah, it's a small group. There's about 5.
Exactly. They don't necessarily all graduate in 3 years, but eventually they do. Most of them get their degrees. We have a couple on our faculty right now. We have Carolyn Hedges, who came and got a PhD with us. Gina Chen now is at the University of Texas at Austin. So they go to really pretty good schools. And they help us because while they're here, they generally tend to teach our classes as well. So it's a very nice relationship.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next question comes from Mary. Where can she find the online opportunities that you spoke about? Where are they posted specifically for the sports events?
So for the sports events, if you follow, I mean, just type in the Newhouse Sports Media Center. I don't have their Twitter handle right in front of me, but that's where everything you could access probably the easiest. They also obviously have their own email listserv. You could certainly join that. Olivia Stomsky or Mylinda Smith are the 2 names. So if you could put their emails in the chat box, Amanda,
Yep.
That would get people connected really easily.
Yep. Okay. Your next question is from James again, and he asks, what is your plan for the fall semester? Could you describe your data gathering and planning process? Are you feeling optimistic, pessimistic, confused?
I don't know. Do I have all those emojis to use? We're doing a ton of planning, and obviously we have to start. We just had registration for the fall, right? So we know what we had hoped to do for the fall, but I think this is probably a bigger picture, like, are we physically going to be on campus in the fall? And I would say we're optimistic about it. So I say cautiously optimistic, right? Because obviously we're in New York State, which is different than most any other state in the country right now in terms of the COVID-19 crisis. Now, a lot of that's downstate, but again, our students come from all over. So the challenge is not just classrooms, right? It's dorm rooms, it's food services, it's all of those things that would make a campus, right? So I will say that it will about to be announced very shortly. Our number, there's been a working task force for months since this all started centrally. In addition to that, there's going to be another 8, I guess, working groups that are looking at exactly all the kinds of factors that I just talked about. As an example, there'll be a public health group that is led by the dean at the Fox School, and it has a number of Fox School faculty who are in health service kind of things and a number of other faculty on there. So these groups are populated in different ways. There's an academic strategy group, right, which includes 3 other deans and a bunch of senators from the university and folks who are actively engaged in teaching. Yours truly and the dean from Whitman are on the communications and strategy group, which makes sense, right? We should be on that group. And so we'll be talking about what the communications are that are going to be outgoing. So there's probably, I think there's about 7 groups altogether, and obviously they'll intertwine in certain places, but there is major planning going on, but individually at each school as well. So Donna and I, as an example, are having a series of meetings with all our department chairs and program directors very soon to look at every single fall class and every single faculty member, right? And see, are you comfortable online? And if you are, wonderful. If you're not, let's get you there. And to see what we can do as easy pickings, like, is there an elective in the fall that we could move to the spring? Simple stuff, right? Things like that we can do right now, and then plan if eventually we have to have some kind of social distancing. I think you guys know we don't use the HERG for classes right now, but would we in the fall? Yeah. Right? I can social distance in the HERG. I got 300 seats in there, right? So these are the kinds of things that we're plotting and planning, and we're going to make it work, whatever it is. But I'm very encouraged by what the faculty has done in the spring. I mean, I gave you guys just a tiny little bit of examples of the things that they're doing, and it truly is great work. But I also know, because I have a child who is a college student, that they want to be on campus, right? And so how do we create that experience? And that's what the chancellor is encouraging us to do, and that's the direction that the Newhouse School is looking at.
Okay, great. Next question is from Andrea, who asks, have you created a mechanism for students to rate the professors so that you can identify the stellar practices and replicate and identify issues and, of course, correct?
I can answer that, though. Donna, you've been doing all these teaching evaluations. Do you want to answer that one? You have to unmute yourself, though.
Sorry about that. I think I am unmuted. Rather. Yes, we're doing a number of things. First of all, we will have our standard teaching evaluations that we will look at. The university also has been doing special evaluations. I believe that they sent out to 19,000 students an evaluation form for them to talk specifically about their online experience, the experience that they have had in this last third or so of the semester. 9,000 students as of last week had answered that survey. So they've gotten an excellent response rate, and that will be analyzed as well. We have been continuously open to our students, to hearing from them anecdotally. So we're looking at that. And then once we're finished, which we are getting really close, as Amy said, to wrapping up the semester, we'll be talking with all of our professors to gather data as well. So we're doing things, the students are filling out evaluations, both for Newhouse and for the university, and we'll look at the collection of that and make some assessments of how we're doing, so that no matter what happens in the fall, we end up going totally online, which is, as Amy said, not what we think will happen right now, or if we end up back here residentially, that we will put this feedback into the planning for both of those scenarios. And, you know, again, as Amy was also mentioning, residential is likely to be a hybrid, that there will be, you know, some things done here on campus with social distancing in mind, but some online also. That's a likely scenario.
And in addition to that, there's a faculty survey going out end of the week or Monday that will ask faculty the same kind of questions, right? Like, how was your experience and what tools did you use? And so we'll have all this feedback, and we're also, Central is helping us get some more capability with what we're doing with Blackboard and Collaborate, and be able to potentially film lectures over the summer from our living rooms. I mean, there's all kinds of things we're working on that I think will get us prepared for whatever the fall turns out to be.
Great. Okay, and Melanie asks, is anything being done to help connect alumni who may be impacted by the economic downturn as far as business opportunities, promoting their businesses and services?
I'm not sure, Kelly, is that something you can address? I know you've heard from some of our alums.
So when it comes to alumni support, the Newhouse Career Development Center does offer lifelong services. So we're here to do any type of advising appointments that might be helpful to people. We do resume reviews. In terms of promoting businesses, we don't have the structure for that. And that's something that certainly is something we can explore. But right now we are able to offer career advising and services related to that. And I can put the email address for the office in the chat box.
Great. And that looks like we're done with questions. I do have a comment here from Mindy. I am so impressed with Amy and how she is leading the school through all of this. I'm so happy to hear how she is addressing a variety of scenarios. I wish some of these best practices of Amy's leadership could be shared with the public school. Thank you, Amy. I am so proud to be an alum. Just a nice note for you, Amy.
Sweet. I'll write a book sometime in my spare time. No, it's honestly been a great pleasure. I mean, obviously you don't want to come into a position in the way that it happened for me, but I have been wildly fortunate to have such a great team around me. I couldn't do it without the people that you see on the screen, and there's a whole bunch of people in the Dean's Cabinet as well that have been super helpful. So, and you guys, right? I mean, this was, as the Senior Associate Dean, I didn't spend a lot of time with alumni, only the ones I knew personally, which I've taught for 20 years, so there's few. But this opportunity as the acting dean and interim dean has really given me an opportunity to work a lot with the advisory board and the Newhouse 44s and do some great things with Carol Setchwell and team. And so I'm thrilled to be able to actually learn new stuff 22 years into my career. So it's been great. And I think you guys know because you have degrees from here, right? And so some of your professors might be not just me, but Donna and Joel are longtime professors as well, right? And so we know the great work that you're doing, and we definitely appreciate that you're able to help us carry that message forward. And I do hear it. I hear it from even the little admitted student sessions that I had. Some of the parents there were either alums themselves or one of their children had already come to Newhouse, right? And so that tradition continues. And so we definitely appreciate anything that you can do to assist us with that. So I don't know, Amanda, I see like the number 9 in my Q&A box, but does that mean there's 9 more questions or?
Not necessarily. There's been some great comments. There's been some great comments of folks who are willing to connect to maybe help some networking opportunities for students and some other great things. So I'm definitely keeping a note of those types of things, and we'll touch base and answer those not questions, but comments. So I'll address those. And then also I did see in the chat that Olivia Stomsky has put in her email, and you do have mine, Amanda Griffin, at the top of the chat, and certainly anyone can contact me after this session concludes, and I would be happy to get Amy's presentation out to anyone, as well as answer any other questions or take on any information.
Mike?
Yeah, hey, Amy, real quick, just for everybody else who's still on the line, if you're interested in more about where we are in terms of not just our university, but all universities, public and private, impact of COVID-19 and the future of higher education, Chancellor Sifferud was one of the 2 guests on a podcast along with the head of the Cal system, the Cal State system. And it was the, oh my gosh, I just drew a blank here. Swing State podcast. It was posted on Sunday. That's the Daily Orange article that Amy was referring to earlier. It's about 50 minutes. And I know a lot of us are walking our dogs to the point that our dogs are ready to compete in the Olympics because they're so fit right now. But it's fascinating. So if you want to take that along and listen, if you have some free time, really not just about Syracuse and about where we're going in the fall, but the entire cornucopia of issues that higher education is facing. So if you're interested in that, you may want to check that out. It's really fascinating beyond our Newhouse work.
That's great, Mike. Thank you. Joel, are we allowed to say what you're working on in your series coming up in the conversation you're going to have with one of our alumni reporters at the White House?
Well, Amanda's my boss, so ask her.
Amanda, are we allowed?
Oh, to say what we're doing for other virtual events? Was that the question?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We have a lot of virtual events in the queue, and we are looking to do a couple things on, covering coronavirus. We're looking to do one that's covering coronavirus from the White House, a session on that with an alumna. We are looking to offer some career sessions for our alumni. We've got a bunch of exciting things coming down the line, and we will be sure to get that information to all of you via the same e-blast scenario that we did for this event and get it up on the website and social media. We hope that you will definitely join us for all of our future events.
That's great. So thank you. Brian, did you hear? I sent you a text. There's one more slide I wanted to stick up here before we break. All right, so you all know we have a new dean coming, and Mark Lodato will be the 7th dean of the Newhouse School. And right now he is being zoomed into many meetings at Newhouse. And he's done a fantastic job. Obviously, he's still an associate dean at ASU, so he has a day job, but to his great credit, we spend much time together. And sometimes we just actually talk on the phone because we're both so tired of being on Zoom that we just chat with each other on the phone and get him all caught up on things. So I know that there's going to be another alumni night with Mark coming up soon. And so that's one of the events that Amanda was talking about, and he's very excited about that. He's trying to wrap some stuff up for him around the end of May. So I'm not sure exactly what the timing will be, but I just wanted you to know that that was coming. And so Mark has, like I said, I've lost track of how many meetings he's zoomed into at Newhouse, which includes our faculty meetings and our dean's meetings and our executive meetings and our staff meetings. So he's making the rounds virtually right now. He does hope to get here by the end of June, but honestly, we just don't know what will be possible. So we're certainly hopeful that that is possible. And if not, we know how to find him on Zoom because we talk to him all the time. So, but that will be coming up as well in the near future. So Brian, you can take that one down and just, there's a thank you slide somewhere, or we'll just say thank you. Are there any other questions, Amanda, before we wrap up? Because we're close to our hour.
I don't have any other ones yet, but again, anyone can feel free to email me, and I will certainly pass them along to Amy, or we can get those answered and get a response back to you.
Absolutely. So please put whatever you need to in either the chat box so Amanda can get back to you, and we're happy to send the deck out if you would like to explore those links. And I think Donna noted in her own chat that she did go through all of them, and they are really pretty impressive. And we'll have more because we have final projects coming in. And so I'm excited to see what our students will do. One last thing I will mention as we close, because those of you with either the high school seniors or potentially college seniors know that the university has announced that its graduation and convocation will be sometime in the fall. The date to be determined, probably later in the fall and in the new dome. And so that will be fantastic. But in the meantime, I want you to know that our departments, because we can't officially have a convocation series, are doing some individual things, just like they would do on a graduation weekend, where they often have receptions and they do little things for their own departments. So they're working on a number of ideas, everything from a social Zoom hour to students creating TikTok videos, which fingers crossed all go as well as we hope they could. And so there'll probably be some YouTube channels with a bunch of graduating folks coming up soon that you'll be able to see. I know Amanda's also been working on having some alums swing into some of those various department meetings. So if that's something you might be able to help us with, just let her know. Again, not going to be a big celebration, but we certainly want to honor our graduating seniors and our grad students who are going to be finishing in the summer and would normally walk at this time of year. So those are the kinds of things we're doing too. We recognize that we're very obviously empathetic with our students. We want to do anything we can to help them. And so I think this will be fun. It'll be fun, whatever, and it'll be different events by different departments. But I think that the students are already looking forward to it. And because they learn these skills all the time, right, then I think it's some of my professors, if they get them all on TikTok, that would be kind of miraculous. But we are going to try. That is our goal. So look for those as well. And again, just great appreciation for all that you're doing. And I will thank Mike again for stopping up and telling us and giving us some inspiration in your home studio, which we appreciate. And great thanks to Carol and Amanda for organizing, and Joel and Donna and Kelly for participating. But we're happy to answer any questions. And please connect with Olivia and Bill Wordy if you want to join in on some of those awesome lecture series that they've been working on. So that's it. That's all I have, everyone. But thank you. And we will sign off.